Okay, here's quick supplemental arm partial fraction decomposition. All right, so first of all, you want to factor. And then you look at the factors. I have two of them, so I need two spots. Both of these are to the first power, right? So you look at the base, okay? If this was squared, I would need 1 to the first power and then x plus 3 again to the second power and then x plus 1. So you look at the number of factors and that's how many pieces you need. All right, you can use the variables a, b, c, d all the way, but you can't repeat them because they might take on different values. This is linear, okay? So if you think of like y equals 2x plus 8, a step down from that would be a constant. A step up would be maybe like a quadratic. And then a step up from that would be a cubic. Okay, so when I talk about a step down or up, I'm talking about power, like cubed, squared to the first power, no x at all. So these are linear right here. So step down would be a constant. So I'm going to use the constant a. Linear, I need a new constant because it's going to take on a very different value. That would be b. Okay, let's look at this one, just setting it up. X cubed is really x to the third power. So I have a factor of x, but it's cubed, so that means I have to have it by itself, squared all the way up to x cubed. Because, for example, if this is 2 cubed, maybe I'm adding a half, or maybe I have a fourth in there, or maybe I have an eighth in there, or whatever to get the answer. You know, I really don't exactly know how I get that, right? Okay, so I need to kind of split it up. All right. Again, all of these are linear, and you might look and say it's a cubic. No, you're looking at the base. The base is linear, so a step down. Now again, I can use A, B, C, D, E. Using A, step down constant. Again, the base is linear. I've already used A. I have to use B. C is my next one, okay? None of those have, neither of these examples have any, I don't know, like AX plus B because none of them are a step down from a quadratic. All right, let's factor this guy. Let's see, take an x out, there's x squared plus 4. All right, so I'm going to split, I have two factors, so I'm going to split it into x and x squared plus 4. Again, I can use A, B, C, D, E, as my variables. Okay, linear, step down is constant. This is a factor as a chunk, okay? It is a quadratic. It has an x squared. So a step down from that is linear. Now, but I've already used A, okay? So, and we don't put y equals mx plus b, we don't put that format here. But I've used A, so I'm going to do bx because, this is like my mx plus c, so that I have a, b, c. It doesn't really matter the order as long as you keep track what your variable is. I guess if you really want to call this m, then x plus b, you could do that. I mean, there's nothing stopping you. But usually we just use a, b, c, d, e, f. And since a step down from this is a constant, step down from this is linear, that's what we do. All right, now to solve them, we clear the fractions, and then some of you like to multiply out and factor like a lot of homework systems do. I like to sub in friendly numbers. All right, so I'm going to pause for a second and look at this next one. All right, let's go back and look at our first problem here. All right, and so what we want to do is clear the fractions. So whatever your common denominator is over here, you're going to multiply everything by that. And your goal here is to cancel so that you have no fractions. So we're going to cancel these. We get 2x. We're going to cancel this guy and get x plus 1. We're going to cancel the x plus 1, and we're going to get that. Okay. Now, some of you like to multiply this out, put your x's together, factor, put your constants together, and then solve it the way MyMathLab does, or Newton, or whatever homework system we're using at the time. But I like to do friendly numbers if they exist because I think it's easier. See how if you sub in -1, this is going to equal 0. Okay, so I'm going to just sub in a -1 everywhere. And I'm not even going to sub it in here because I know it's 0, b sub a -1 in. And then I just do the math. That's a -2. That's a 0, so you don't need any of that. This is 2b, divide by 2, b is a -1. And so, I just think that's easier. Then I'm going to sub in my other friendly number, which is -3. So 2 over here times a negative 3, a negative 3 plus 1. And again, I don't even sub it in because I know that's 0. All right. So then I get a negative 6, a negative 2, divide both sides, solving a linear equation. Because remember, we know how to solve linear and quadratic. A is 3. Okay. And so then I just go back to the original and I get x plus 3 and x plus 1. A is what? Value 3. So that was my A was above my x plus 3. And my B plus a negative 1 was over the x plus 1. And again, sometimes my math lab or Newton or whatever might have a minus here with a plus 1. Just depends on. All right, let's look at the next one. And this was the x cubed. And then we had a over x and b over x squared and c over x cubed. All right, so I'm just going to multiply everything by x cubed. All right, and I'm going to cancel. So whatever your denominator is over here, that's what you multiply it by. One of these cancels, so I get ax squared. What? 2 of those cancel, so this is what? bx. Was that 4? Oh, shoot, Julie, there was a 4x plus 1 there. Sorry, I miswrote it. And then here, all of it cancels plus c. Okay, so this is 4x. I'm going to just cancel that. Sorry, 4x plus 1. All right, not pretty, but I lost my 4x plus 1. All right, so here the only pretty thing is 0. So x equals 0. Let's sub that in. If I sub it in over here, I get 4 times 0 plus 1. And then I get a 0 plus a 0 plus a c. So it looks like c is 1. Okay. All right, let's sub in another value. Now, unfortunately, there's no other pretty values because x equaling 0 was the only one. But I'll just sub in x is 1. So here I get, what, 4 times 1 plus 1. And then I get a times, what, 1 squared. And I get b times 1. And we know that c is plus 1. Okay, so if you even want to change this to a plus 1, because obviously you know what it is. All right, let's do the math here. This is 5. 4 plus 1 is 5. This is a or 1a, and then b plus 1. And then I'm going to solve for a plus b, so minus 1. So a plus b is a 4. Okay, and we might do systems of equations or Desmos later to do that. All right, I'm going to sub in x equals 2. Okay, so over here, I'm going to do a little math in my head. 8 plus 1 is 9. 4, and that is 4a. 2 times that, so what is that? 2b, and then we have plus 1, bring that over. So minus 1 equals 4a plus 2b. All right, now I'm going to put these together. So let's see, sorry, 4, well, I have a plus b equals 4, 4a plus 2b equals 8. Now, you can do systems of equations by hand, or you could use Desmos. If you do it by hand, you'd multiply the top by negative 2. This is the elimination method. You want to cancel positive 2, you're going to multiply by negative 2, or you could do negative 4, it doesn't matter. Negative 2a, negative 2b equals negative 8. 4a plus 2b equals 8. So what do I get? 2a equals 0. So it looks like a is 0. So a is 0, okay? And then if I sub it back into either one, if you sub it in here, you get b is 4. If you sub it in here, b is 4. Okay, so now when you rewrite it, okay, so if I rewrite it, I have 4x plus 1 over x cubed, and then I have a over x plus b over x squared plus c over x cubed. We know a is 0. So this is actually going to go away. Like it wasn't even part of it. B is 4. So this guy is going to become a 4. And then c is 1. So really, it's just 4 over x plus 1 or squared over 1 over x cubed. And we didn't even have the other part. Okay, but we didn't know until we solved. And you could use Desmos right here. You could make a matrice on Desmos and solve that with Desmos matrix if you wanted to. Okay, that would be an option for that one. All right, and then let's pause for a second. I'll rewrite the last one. All right, same thing. We're going to multiply by this to clear all the fractions here because we don't really want fractions. We don't really like solving equations with fractions, so we usually clear them. All right, all of that cancels. I get x minus 2. Here, the x cancels. I get a, you need parentheses, so be cautious on that. and then all of that cancels. Now, because this is a binomial, you need parentheses on this guy too. So bx plus c times x, okay? All right, the only pretty number, let's see, we have x equals 0. So that's going to help. Let's see, I get 0 minus 2. A times 0 squared is going to just be 0. And then let's see if all of this is 0, because 0 times all that is going to be 0. All right, so I get negative 2 equals 4a. And then divide by 4, I get a negative half. So a is a negative 1/2, okay? All right, so now let's sub in, I don't know, x equals 1 is a good choice. All right, so let's sub it in. If I put 1 in, I get 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. And you could just type it in a calculator. Here, a on a calculator, 1 squared plus that is going to be, what, a 5. And then you could sub in, and we know what a is, so we'll sub that in a second. Here we have what, b times 1, and then plus c, and then all of that's times 1. All right, and I'm going to distribute that. All right, so negative 1 equals, a we know is a negative half, because we just solved that a little bit ago, right up there, plus, and then distribute the 1 doesn't change anything. Okay, so I get that. So negative 1, let's see, what is this? This is a negative 5/2. Plus b plus c, and then I'm going to add the 5/2 to both sides. And again, you can use a calculator that does fractions. So if you're like, you know, Julie, I'm really bad at fractions, well, you know, get this little cheapy calculator here and type in what? Negative 1 plus, and then use the fraction key, 5/2, enter, and it'll give you 3/2, right? Otherwise, get a common denominator and do it yourself, like 2/2 and get 3/2. But see, helps if you write it right. Okay, so there's that guy, okay? And then if I sub in x equals 2, right, then I'm gonna get that, okay? So let me do x equals 2, and you can sub in any number you want. It's just we don't really have pretty numbers here. So I'm gonna go back up here and sub in x equals 2. So what do I get? 2 minus 2 is 0. We know what a is. I'll sub that in a second. This is 4 plus 4, that's going to be 8a, plus, and then what? B, and x is 2, plus c, and x is 2. Okay, and so 0 equals, so we know that a is what? A was a negative half. Yeah, so a is a negative half. And let's see what else. We don't know anything else, correct? Okay. And then distribute, so you have to be careful with the distributive property. 4b plus 2c, that's going to be what? A negative 4. Add 4 to both sides. And then I get another equation. Okay, so now I have to solve my systems of equations. So my first, I have what? B plus c equals what? 3/2? Okay. All right, and if you want to divide this all by 2, that would be legal, but I'll just leave it. All right. I'm just going to cancel, I don't know, let's cancel the b's this time. So I want to multiply by negative 4 to get positive 4 with a negative 4. So I'm going to leave the top one alone, and I'll show you how to use decimals in a second on these. Multiply all of this by negative 4. So let's see, and again, if you're bad with a calculator or bad with fractions, use a calculator. I think, let's see, 2, negative 2, I think that's a negative 6. This will be a negative 4b minus 4c. Okay, I'm going to add, this equals a negative 2. These cancel, I get what? Negative 2c. Divide by negative 2, and it looks like c is 1. All right, so right now it's looking like I know that c is 1. A and B. A was what? A negative half, I think. And what was B? Do we know B yet? Nope. We got to sub back in to get B. So let's see. If C is 1, I'll just shove it right back in there. 3/2 equals B plus 1. Subtract 1. That's going to be what? A half equals B. So it looks like B is a half. Okay, and we'll catch it if not in a little bit. All right, I'm going to pause to rewrite this, and we'll use decimals. All right, here I went back and wrote in A, B, and C. Sometimes with a half, we'll put the 2 down here instead. And then sometimes we'll multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, just so it looks a little prettier. Okay, I'm going to pause and show you decimals quick. All right, so I typed in the equations, just the coefficients of both, enter, reduce row echelon form. and then it spits out B and C right here.